Also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ghana Tertiary Education Commission directs all 46 public colleges of education to remain open despite pressure to close down. Also coming up, governing NPP condemns opposition NDC over its decision not to sign a pre-election peace pact. Its flag bearer, John Mahama, has been reacting as well. And much later on the program, looming food crisis as part of the northern region continue to experience drought. We'll tell you what the situation is like on the ground. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, it's barely 4 months until the December 7 general election, one that both of the leading parties, the governing New Patriotic Party and the main opposition National Democratic Congress, are determined to win. The NPP is aiming to break the 8 and has seen its Agric Minister, Dr. Brian Echampo, on various platforms, stating that the NPP will do everything it can to retain power. Now, President Akufo-Addo has also expressed his desire to hand over power to his Vice President and NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, rather than to the NDC flag bearer, John Mahama, whom he has defeated twice. Now, the signing of a peace pact before every election has helped maintain a peaceful election environment before and after each poll. Now, however, according to the NDC, the deaths of 8 Ghanaians during the 2020 elections and the government failure to investigate these deaths suggests that the NPP is not committed to peace. The NDC chair, Johnson Asiedun-Katia, has stated that the party will not sign a peace pact declaration ahead of the upcoming general election. The Peace Council has meanwhile said that it has been doing its part to lower tensions and ensure that political actors adhere to the rules. However, the NDC accuses the Peace Council of a laid-back attitude towards the NPP's actions that could undermine peace. Let's hear flag bearer John Mahama reacting to that comment earlier by Johnson Asiedun-Katia that the party will not be part of any peace pact ahead of the polls.
I read the statement made by our chairman this morning, and even though it is not a decision that we have sat and taken, I can understand the position he's coming from. He's talking about justice and saying that we should not glorify just signing a peace pact without acting to make sure that peace exists. Because when we sign a peace pact and people gun down 8 of our compatriots and nobody cares, no investigation is taking, no compensation is paid, then what was the use of signing the peace pact? And so I can understand where he's coming from. But of course, we haven't sat and taken a definite decision on that. But I do think that those who normally clamor about signing peace pacts, getting us to go to Movenpick Hotel, serve small chops and drinks, and then we think that just by signing that paper, everything is going to be okay. He's telling them that everything will not be okay unless we go further than just the signature on the peace pact. So I think that's the message he's sending.
And that was the flag bearer of the NDC and also former President John Mahama. The governing New Patriotic Party, in a response to the NDC's threat, has appealed to the party to reconsider its position on committing to the 2024 peace accord ahead of the December polls in the national interest. And Wisdom Safo joins me in the studio with a copy of that statement coming from the governing NPP. Wisdom, can you give us highlights of this statement?
Okay, so the statement was released on August 16, and these are some of the things captured in the statement. It said, one, the NPP condemns Nketiah's statement and label it as unfortunate. And two, the NPP accuses the NDC of preparing their supporters to reject the election results and incite conflict. The NPP asserts that it addresses concerns through appropriate channels such as courts and electoral bodies, rather than through provocative statements. And also, the NPP reiterates its readiness to sign the 2024 Election Peace Declaration and calls on national and civil society organizations to support this commitment. Also, the NPP questions NDC's commitment to peace, noting their continuous representation in peace and security forums despite their stance. So, Beatrice, this would have been the fourth peace pact.
Indeed.
Yes, if it was signed. The latest one was signed in 2020, ahead of the 2020 election. And this statement was actually made by Johnson Asiedu Nketiah on the Joy News PM Express. And I quote Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. I said, signing a peace declaration doesn't mean anything to the party. A previous pact have not been, all the previous pacts that was signed have not yielded any real results. So he's emphasizing on solving critical issues pertaining what actually leads and cause the underlying causes of conflict, rather than relying on a symbolic agreement. So that's what Asiedu Nketiah is saying, and the response by the NPP as well in the statement.
Thank you very much, Wisdom Safo. Well, the flag bearer of the NDC, who has been campaigning in the Volta region, has also waded into the Peace Pact matter. He says he appreciates the NDC chairman's position on the matter, in that various issues have cropped up, including killing of voters during elections, which have not been handled properly. All right, we'll bring you more of what the former president said later, but let's also engage a security and conflict management expert with the Center for Security Dialogue and Peace Advocacy, Dr. Anthony Akoye. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice, and thank you for having me.
And now, given the critical or current political tensions between the NPP and the NDC, what practical steps from where you stand do you think can be taken by these leaders to de-escalate tensions and foster peace? I mean, we're looking at a peaceful environment before, during, and after the polls.
Beatrice, I must say that peace accord is one of the key components in ensuring peaceful and credible relations per UN standard and even the African Union. And it is important for us to address, this very issue with regard to the NDC's declaration not to sign to the peace accord. Unfortunately, as a country, I think that we have not done our best to address some of the issues that is triggering their intent not to, to sign to the peace accord. If you listen to them very well, especially with the chairman, he indicated that in 2020 election, some people were killed, and he expected that some of this, development would have been addressed, seeking justice for those who were killed. In fact, as a country, we have only one country. And so it is important that we all adopt to the need-based approach and to ensure that we have a peaceful election. But in a situation where an opposition party seek to, adopt what we call the power-based approach, where they seek to deploy all their arsenals in ensuring peace. Yes, the power-based approach, everybody who is, an expert within the security domain or conflict domain will tell you that it is an approach that can be used to ensure peace, but it's destructive. And so adopting to the power-based approach will not help. I think that as a country, we need to sit down with, all the stakeholders within the election and make sure that we have, a very effective dialogue. And again, look at some of the, approach that critical institutions like the Electoral Commission, again, the Ghana Police Service or the security agencies, the judiciary, the kind of approach they are using in ensuring that we have, peaceful election. The Electoral Commission must ensure that there is transparency in terms of its decision making, and again, ensure that no political biasness, is being indicated or shown in their operation. The Ghana Police Service must also understand that it is important to communicate to the public and for them to know the non-sensitive part of their approach. I mean, in terms of their security approach, where citizens can be involved to be the eye of the police, reporting incidents that can, raise violence within the country. These are very, holistic approach that we need to be taken as a country to ensure that we have peace going into the 2024 election.
You heard the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nkatia, using the deaths in 2020 as a justification for deciding, or the party deciding not to be part of this peace pact ceremony, as it were, ahead of the 2020 general election, ahead of this year's general election. But the former president, John Mahama, who is the leader of the party, has also spoken about it. Listening to what he said, it seems to suggest that he's watering down a bit of the stance of the chairman. Do you think that's a subtle way of he trying to calm things down?
Well, I must say that they are all speaking from one direction. And we need to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that in 2020, some people were killed. And as it stands now, the father of the land, or let me say the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, who also doubled as the chairman of the National Security Council, has not given, a clear indication of giving what we call the condolence to the bereaved family. Some of these issues, when it's not being addressed, sometimes, it adds up some what we call the tension, build up tension, because the opposition feel that justification has not been seek. And so at the end of the day, you don't expect that if, using the right-based approach where the court must ensure that those who did that are brought into book, things are not done that way. You don't expect the opposition to also, succumb to that. So as a country, like I said, we need to sit every stakeholder, down, look at it from a holistic view, have a dialogue, and make sure that we trade off.
Have a dialogue and make sure that we trade off. We'll have to end it here. Security and conflict management expert with the Center for Security Dialogue and Peace Advocacy, Dr. Anthony Akwe. Thank you for speaking to us. And speaking of the former president, John Mahama, he's also warned the investors who are going to invest in the Commander Sugar Factory to go through a transparent process before he takes over the company. And he spoke during his Volta regional tour. He spoke actually in the capital of the Volta region. Take a listen.
I've read about the hurry to lease out the Commander Sugar Factory to an investor. You see, the thing about this government is they're not transparent in anything they do. And I warn the investor, I hope it's gone through a transparent procurement process. And so buyer beware. Whoever that investor is, he should be very careful, because if the process has not been transparent, we are not willing to abide by any transfer of that facility. We must open it up and get the best investor to come and partner with government to run that sugar factory. So whoever it is, I'm just sending a note of caution to him. I haven't seen any transparent process in trying to lease out that sugar factory. And if we come and it was not transparent and it was some, under the table transfer of a national asset, we will not be very cooperative in that regard. And so that is a warning.
Former President John Mahama speaking there in the Volta region. We stay a bit longer on politics because barely 2 days from now, the governing New Patriotic Party will launch an important document which should serve as a guide to transforming the country and positioning it on the path of steady economic growth. But exactly what do the people of the Ashanti region want captured in the manifesto? And we're talking about the Ashanti region because obviously that is the stronghold of the party, and this launch is happening in the Western region, precisely Sekondi Takoradi, which I understand is also another strong footing for the NPP as well. William Evans Inkum is our Northern Sector Chief, Northern Bureau Chief. He joins us right here in Accra and in the studio. William, I know you've been following this. You're going to be giving us updates as well on Sunday. But first, a major political environment which determines the destiny of the governing party should have an absolute interest in Sunday's manifesto launch, shouldn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, no two ways about that. I can say that because of the level of apathy that saw the party's performance dropped from 76% in 2016 to 71% in 2020. And now the situation is even a bit dire because the business community who controls the economic environment as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, they are not happy. If you're talking about the business community, then of course you're talking about the operators within the Swami Magazine Industrial Enclave. It's a whole country in itself as far as business is concerned. Then you're talking about the KJTR traders, then you are talking about the Adu business owners. So these are the group of people who control the local economy, because this is an informal based economy as far as Ashanti region is concerned. And what do they want to see appeared in the manifesto? Over the years, they've been talking about the high import duties, and Bawumia did not mince words when he was touring the Ashanti region not too long ago, even assuring them that when he assumed the position as the president of the republic, he was going to cap import duties. That is, they are going to pay a fixed rate. Then the questions started coming. Why not now? Because you are the head of the economic management team. He's always been defending that, well, in as much as he's the head of the economic management team, it doesn't make him the driver. He's a mate. And doesn't really mean that everything that he says, the current administration or those who control, the who are in the helms of affairs, take those things into consideration. So it is something that is very high occupy that top position as far as their priorities are concerned. They want to see what the next administration, if the MPP is lucky enough to continue or to break the 8, then what they are going to do as far as high import duties are concerned. Then of course they are also looking at taxes. Aside the high import duties, they also believe that they've been targeted. You remember there was a time that the Adu business owners decided to close their shops because they felt that, well, this is our party, this is our government, but that appears that they've unleashed GRA officials on us to hunt us down, to attack our businesses. So for a whole week, they decided to shut their businesses. They want to see if Bawumia Napo-led administration will introduce tax-friendly system or regime with them or to them, so they can also have a thriving businesses. So basically, these are some of the things that they want to see capture in the MPP's manifesto.
They want to see, you mentioned two important things, dire situation now, and you're looking at the numbers of the MPP. And mind you, for any political party to win an election, as in occupy the presidency, it doesn't take just supporters of the MPP alone. It
Absolutely.
takes all Ghanaians to decide that you're the one we want to vote for.
Well, absolutely.
And you talk about dire situation as in the numbers of the MPP going down. And of course, the demands of the business community, the fact that they are, members within that community are unhappy. I just wanted to give us some statistics, which is obviously we know that the MPP has been in power for the past 8 years, almost 8 years now. 76% of vote share in 2016, but this number dropped to 71% in 2020.
Well, absolutely.
Beyond this business community issue you've raised, what do you think could be the factors having listened to people, really, not just in the Ashanti region, but also people who are interested in our politics?
Well, there are other people who are also looking at infrastructure. There are some who believe that the NPP has taken the Ashanti region for granted. So, for instance, in 2008, when former President John Ajay Kufuor was about exiting power after exhausting his 8-year tenure, then he introduced or he initiated the Sofo Line project, which was a major project, or infrastructure project as far as the Ashanti region and then the NPP is concerned. Now, the NPP is about exiting power by virtue of the fact that they've exhausted their 8-year tenure, and now we are now seeing the beginning of another landmark project, which is the Swami Interchange 4-tier project. Already, they've come out to tell the people of the Ashanti region is that they are not sure that particular project will be completed and commissioned this year. So it means they are going to see 8 years ago, 16 years ago, what happened in Sofo Line happening again as far as Swami Interchange is concerned. Aside that, there are other monumental projects that they also want to see them in the area of health sector. Well, we are only hoping that by September they should be able to commission the Afari Military Hospital. Otherwise, it is also going to mean a lot.
William, we're going to spend some more time probably on Hot Edition tonight and in our subsequent bulletins. But let's get a feel of what's happening in the Western region, which is where the manifesto of the governing party will be launched. Irama Smith joins us live now from there. Irama, just talk to us about the mood in Takoradi ahead of this launch on Sunday.
Right. So when you come to Takoradi, the mood is very calm. Many people do not even know that there's going to be a manifesto launch here on Sunday, interestingly. But gradually we are seeing the NPP colors in town, especially at the Central Business District of Takoradi and then close to the venue, the Ghana Secondary Technical School. So you see a lot of the paraphernalia. We also see posters of the host MP, that's the Western Regional Minister Kobi Ochiri-Dakumensa, with that of the presidential candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, spread around. I also passed through the Estia constituency. I saw a similar one because it's close to Takoradi. But generally, some too are aware, but there's this apathy. They can't be bothered, which is quite interesting because, Takoradi is an NPP stronghold, but they are complaining that because of the economic hardship and all that, that would not put bread on their table. So what they want is to see an improvement in the economy. So basically, that is it.
Basically, that is it. Thank you very much, Irama Smith. And I'm sure you'll be giving us updates as and when we do have it. Irama Smith is our Southern Bureau Chief Head, also our Western Region Correspondent. Thank you for bringing us those details. Now, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission says colleges of education across the country will remain open despite 2 months of no academic activity. Students have been pushing for a shutdown of the schools. GTEC, in a statement, says it has not been directed to close down the schools. It also explains that efforts are being made to address the concerns of CTAC members. This includes payment of salaries, recruitment of more teachers, among others. Emmanuel Samani joins me in the studio with a statement from GTEC telling us that the schools will not be closed. Can you give us details of why they think the schools should remain open?
Right, Beatrice. So this statement is coming in from the Professor Ahmed Janapo, who's the acting Director General of GTEC, and he says that the Commission, as of today, has not reached such a conclusion. Neither has it been directed by the Honourable Minister of Education to do same. I'm talking about closing down these institutions. As a result, all of the 46 colleges of education should stay open until further notice. It also says that in addition, the top-up of the research allowance has been paid to the 44 colleges of education, except McCoy and Dambai, who have some technical issues which is yet to be resolved. It also says that additionally, the all year round payments, which is also an issue of contention, has been initiated on the Ghana Integrate Financial Management Information Systems to enable the Ministry of Finance to issue the release letter and specific warrant of payment to be effected as soon as possible. Now, regarding payment of salaries for August, the Commission says it will communicate directives on the subject once same has been received from the Honourable Minister of Education. In the meantime, the Commission is in serious talks with the Honourable Minister of Education for financial clearance to be granted to GTEC to recruit some 2,500 teaching staff to augment the current load for academic work to commence as quickly as possible while CTAC works to resolve their concerns. So here are some of the highlights from that statement and updates on that CETA strike from GTEC.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Somani. And it's some 25 minutes past the hour of 12. You're still here on the Midday News on 3 FM. Let's go up north, and there are growing fears of looming food shortage in the coming months as drought hits northern parts of the country, ravaging farmland. Over the past 1.5 months, the 5 regions of the north have been hit by drought spells, decimating crops. The effects of the drought are likely to linger on for a little while, as hundreds of farmers now have to also contend with mounting debt due to the loss of their farms. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo, who witnessed the situation during his visit to the Upper East region on Thursday, has assured of some measures in the coming weeks to address the situation. And we'll get more of what the president has been saying. But we do have a man who covers the northern part for us as well, Castro Senyala, joining us in the studio. Castro, just tell us, I know you've been to these areas as well. How severe is the drought situation and the impact on farmers?
Right, Beatrice. The issue of drought in northern part of Ghana is very serious. It's a serious situation. I can report that a lot of farms at the current stage that we find ourselves really need rain to grow, but then the lack of rain is affecting these crops, and very little is expected as far as yield is concerned. Farmers are very worried, considering the fact that they've invested hugely in these farms, and the concerns are that, the issue, the conversation around climate change should be revisited, because the understanding is that it is one of the, debilitating effects of, that is the reason why we're not getting the rains that we're supposed to get. But as for the rainfall pattern in northern part of Ghana, indeed, it has changed.
Indeed, it has changed. We talk about the farmers dealing with debt as well, because now they can't have their produce to sell and to pay back loans or whatever monies they might have taken anywhere. Do we know how much, for instance, we are looking at?
If you go to the Fumbisi rice fields in the Awusah South District, for instance, where the government is investing hugely as far as rice production is concerned, farmers there are crying because they've invested. A farmer at the Fumbisi rice valleys, if you want to estimate, would need about 100,000 Ghana cedis to be able to invest. And so if there's a lack of rain in an area like the Awusah South, which we are currently experiencing, it would mean they'll be counting losses into excesses of 100,000 cedis. And so for them, the conversation around, this multi-purpose dam has come up, and then this government's flagship One Village, One Dam conversation has also come up strongly in the Upper East region, where farmers are calling, if not for rice cultivation, at least for vegetable cultivation, because if the rain is not falling and these dams were really there and had water, they would have relied on these dams. And so these are some of the concerns the farmers have been saying as far as their losses are concerned, and what can be done to ensure that some of these things don't repeat.
Indeed, and if you're watching us, we're showing you some videos on Facebook where you can see some dried up stock of, rice or maize plants with really dry lands there, indicative of the drought in the northern parts of the country, and of course highlighting the plight of farmers in that part of the country. But Castro, briefly briefly before you go, we were talking about the president visiting the Upper East region, which is actually where you're based, and assuring the farmers of measures. Do you recall of any specific measure he talked about?
Not really, but the president was indirectly referring to the flagship, One Village, One Dam policy, which had so much expectation as far as curbing issues of what we're facing right now is concerned, where farmers do not have access to irrigable water to water their crops. It hasn't really been straightforward about that. But then the concerns, like I stated earlier on, have been that government hasn't done a lot as far as the construction of these dams are concerned. In many of the areas where these dams were supposed to spring up, we see nothing but dry land lying there. And so residents are, calling on government that they really need to revisit the One Village, One Dam policy, which they've lauded so much, so that they are able to collect more water during the rainy season and then can be used when rains don't come and during the dry season as well.
Thank you so much, Castro Senyala. And Castro Senyala is a man in the Upper East region, joining us right here in Accra in the studio. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily with Bismark Awusah.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Follow us on social media. Twitter at 3FM927. Facebook at 3FM927. And also on 3news.com.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Bank of Ghana moves to address structural issues in state-owned banks as it offloads shares in the ADB. We'll bring you details. Also, Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, calls for comprehensive public financial management reforms to address Ghana's economic woes. We'll hear from Director of Research, Dr. John Kwachi.
Of the purchase of gas from SEED, which is 100% of the product from Ghana Gas, halts the operations of Ghana Gas, because Ghana Gas may not have other storage facilities to store its product.
Plus, fuel price projected to remain stable for second half of August 2024. We will bring you details of latest forecast by the Institute for Energy Security. I am Bismark. These stories coming up on Business Daily. Stay with me. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story, the Bank of Ghana has committed to transferring its shares in ADB Bank to the government, while also pledging to tackle the recurring challenges faced by state-owned banks to minimize future government recapitalization. This was revealed in the International Monetary Fund's second review of the Economic Credit Facility Program. The Flowing 3 Business News Desk report has more.
Bank of Ghana has announced its intention to offload its shareholding in ADB Bank to the government. The move is part of broader efforts by the central bank to address the structural issues plaguing state-owned banks, which have led to repeated calls for government recapitalization. This commitment was highlighted in the International Monetary Fund's second review of the Economic Credit Facility program. The Bank of Ghana has pledged to conduct a thorough diagnostic of the structural challenges in state-owned banks, including their business models, governance, risk management, and legal frameworks, with a strategy to address these issues by the end of April 2025. The central bank further indicated that the strong measures adopted to resolve challenges at the National Investment Bank, NIB, would serve as a guide for addressing similar issues at ADB Bank. These measures will focus on linking recapitalization to stricter inspection, governance reforms, rationalizing business models, and enhancing risk management. The central bank's move is aimed at ensuring long-term stability and reducing the financial burden on the government in recapitalizing distressed state-owned banks.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, Dr. John Kwachi, is advocating for comprehensive reforms of Ghana's public financial management system. He attributes the country's current economic woes to inefficiencies, excessive administrative influence, and other factors. To address these challenges, Dr. Kwachi emphasizes the need for effective oversight, transparency, and accountability through targeted reforms. He made these remarks at the Africa Center for Governance and Economic Management's roundtable discussion themed Balancing Fiscal and Monetary Policies in Africa's Economic Development.
Balancing fiscal and monetary policy will require strengthening fiscal and monetary policy governance and effective coordination, as we have been told. But in particular, we need a strengthened treasury transparency, responsibility, and accountability through appropriate reforms of the public financial management legislations. We need active engagement of the public throughout the budget formulation and implementation process to promote transparency and inclusiveness. Government ministries, departments, and agencies and other public institutions should engage their constituents on planned policies, programs, and projects through regular public information and education sessions. This will allow the public discussions and debate to inform actual policy decisions. There is a need for regular publication of full statistical data on the economy for the information of the public. Transparency and accountability should be instituted in all government procurement through institutional strengthening and reinforced oversight by Parliament. Now, we need to strengthen our public audit systems, including insulating them from executive influence.
And that was Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, Dr. John Kwachi. Moving on, the prices of petroleum products will remain stable on the local fuel market for the second half of August 2024. That's according to the Institute for Energy Security, IES. This is due to the combined effects of the slowed depreciation of the cedi and the international market activities observed in the first half of August 2024. The following report has more.
Petrol and diesel prices have recorded significant decreases at the pumps, with petrol dropping by 2.83% and diesel by 4.46% during the first pricing window of August 2024. However, in contrast, the price of liquefied petroleum gas LPG rose by 2.66%. Meanwhile, the Ghana cedi depreciated by 0.77% against the US dollar during the same period. According to the Institute for Energy Security, IES, unless there are sectorial regulatory or policy changes, fuel prices are expected to remain stable over the next 2 weeks. The stability is attributed to the current market conditions and projections for the second pricing window of August. On the international front, oil prices are facing downward pressure due to growing instability in the Middle East and reduced demand from China. Despite geopolitical tensions typically driving prices up, the weak demand outlook is currently overshadowing the risks of supply disruptions. As a result, both Brent crude and WTI recorded price declines. Locally, the drop in fuel prices marks the first decline since May 2024. Data from oil marketing companies show that petrol and diesel are selling at an average of 14 Ghana cedis and 14.58 Ghana cedis per litre, respectively, while LPG is priced at 15.22 Ghana cedis per kilogram. This reduction in fuel prices brings some relief to consumers amid fluctuating exchange rates and global market uncertainties.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on projected floor price stability for the second half of August 2024. Before we go, the Accra Mall, West Hills Mall, and Kumasi City Mall have been taken over by a South African real estate investment firm, Lango. This follows the completion of a new transaction deal worth more than $200 million. The move is part of decision by Lango to enter more African markets with its retail business strategy. The company's portfolio now comprises high-quality commercial real estate assets across Ghana, Zambia, Nigeria, and Angola. The new chain of properties adds to its already existing business spaces in Ghana, including the Achimota Retail Center, Accra Financial Center, Stanbic, and Standard Chartered head offices in Ghana. And that will be all for Business Daily with me, Bismark, Awusah. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company.